Welcome to the first day of Reunited in Pride, Southeast Kansas Pride 2022. SEK Pride is sponsored by Project Q&A. Project Q&A is a leading nonprofit organization working to educate, empower, and raise visibility for the over 2.9 million LGBTQIA plus individuals who call rural America home. Thank you for tuning in this evening to our first of two panel discussions. We have local entrepreneurs in the queer community discuss their experiences in rural America operating small businesses. We will let each panelist introduce themselves. Tamisha, would you like to start?
Hi, sure, why not?
All right.
I'm from here in Independence. I did live for a while in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I went to school in Denver, Colorado, and Salt Lake City. I started out, oddly enough, in graphic design and interactive media, planning to open a business in that for myself. I've always been very entrepreneurial from childhood. But then it turned out I realized I was very passionate about early childhood education. So I switched my major, which don't get me wrong, I'm forever glad I did. I just wish I'd made up my mind before I started paying for a private art school. But I do fortunately use what I learned at both schools, because I do my own advertising and I do my own web design and everything. So that worked out really well. I am also active in both the local community and early childhood education community. Here I am a member of the USD 446 school board, and I am also a member of the, a board member of the Kansas Association for the Education of Young Children. And I know I'm forgetting something, but I've also worked with other groups in Independence, including the Astro Arts Festival and the Eclectic Art Gallery. And I keep pretty busy between those and Indie Women United, which used to be Strathmus. We just recently switched there. So I stay pretty busy with community work and activism and things like that. So I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the introduction.
Should say my business.
Yes, go ahead.
The Treehouse of Early Learning. I have an in-home daycare right now, and we are expanding into a center-based program. That's been a whole long journey, 2 to 3 year journey, but we are getting closer to the end finally. And so that's what my business is right now. And I am also a grant writer for Thrive Allen County, which is a nonprofit in Allen County.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Sounds like you do stay quite busy. And Brian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Brian Hight. I own Magnolia Sense by Design, downtown Independence. We opened about 14 years ago downtown. We specialize in scented products. So specifically, we make soy candles, bath and body products such as lotions and sprays, creams, and natural bar soaps, things along those lines. And additionally, we also carry things like herbs and spices and teas that are shipped in from all over the world, everywhere. And finally, we love to give a space to local artisans. So we have, I would say, probably around 3 dozen or so local artisans that we represent in the store on a consignment basis, which really gives a lot of variety to our store, number one, but it also gives a really great marketplace to people that would probably find it more difficult to reach a marketplace on their own, especially with one-of-a-kind kinds of pieces. So I'm kind of proud of that. I think it's kind of fun. But about me specifically, my husband and I met in college. We went to school at Emporia State University. My degree was in business. His was in theater, interestingly enough, because he's really not a theater person, but he loves theater, but he's not on stage. When it was time to graduate college, we started the career path thing and quickly found out that kind of a rat race, that was never going to work for us. Me specifically, I think I was more the driver on that than he was, but I just was not going to be able to work in a corporate environment. I've always marched to my own drummer, as they say. So when we were trying to decide where to locate ourselves after college, we intentionally decided to come home. I'm from Cherryvale, Kansas, born and raised there. Ryan's from Independence. Our families go back 5 generations or more on both sides, right here in Montgomery County. So we wanted to be home. So I suppose you could say we're rural by choice. It's also, when we were deciding, back in those days, this would have been in 2005, being out as a gay person was risky, or at least it was scary. I'll say it was scary because you didn't know how someone was going to react to you, and it was easy it was easier just to stay quiet, but we decided that we were going to do it. We were going to move home because there needed to be an example set somewhere. And so we thought, well, maybe we can be that example. Maybe we can show people that we're not, strange or monsters or whatever it is that they had in their heads. So that's what brought us home. And here we are still. Ryan runs the lab at Labette, and I am here running Magnolia every day.
That's actually a really compelling story, I think, for a number of reasons. But the wanting to return home and be that example to the community, I think, is a phenomenal thing. Just absolutely phenomenal. So I am Cody McRae. I am a community member here in Independence, born and raised. I am an author as well as an artist. I have several things going on, but primarily I write, and I'm also working with a coordinated campaign right now as a fellow, and I'm tonight's moderator, and that's really all about me for now. But let's get right into it. All right, so as we explained, tonight we are talking about the concept of LGBTQIA plus individuals who are entrepreneurs, such as yourselves. And let's get started with the discussion questions. We'll start with you, Brian, since Tamisha started our introductions. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are in terms of being an LGBTQ plus entrepreneur? You got into it a little bit, but yeah, a little bit more if you could.
Sure. Well, as our business has grown over the years and changed, an interesting thing has happened. The rainbow seems to have become our brand. More than our products, more than the things that we sell, it seems like we're becoming a place that is a safe space for queer people in this community, and specifically young adults. And that is something that's been very, very powerful for me. So we actually took a bit of a leap, and England can actually talk on this a little bit. We about, I don't know how long it's been now, 5 years ago, and you may even know, Cody, we decided to display a pride flag on the front of our store because we wanted to be that safe space. And I had talked about wanting to be an example, and I understand that sometimes people in a community, if they're not part of another community, just don't know how to behave. They don't know what's right, what's wrong. All they have is whatever media they've consumed to show them the way to behave. And I don't think that that's always accurate. So by being a positive example and by talking to people when they have questions, even if they're somewhat offensive, I found that I can somewhat help them learn how to behave around queer people, around gay people. And once we put the pride flag up, and we actually, we asked several other businesses around Independence if they would do it as well, and we had several takers. I think we had, it was over a dozen other businesses and individuals put up pride flags that year, that very first time, for SEK Pride. As a matter of fact, I think it was the first one, or maybe it was in June. Regardless, I had one individual come into the store who was somewhat belligerent with me because he had either assumed or been told that we were forcing stores to put pride flags up, and he was angry about that, and he didn't think that was right. Now, of course, that wasn't true. We didn't ask anybody else, or we didn't tell anybody else to do that. We asked if they'd like to, and many of them did, and a few of them didn't. England was standing right behind me. She had my back when that guy was on me. And that was the only example of that. And basically, I just explained to him that absolutely not. It was not something that we coerced other people into doing, but instead, we asked them if they'd like to, and several of them did. And I think he was surprised by that. He still didn't think it was right, but he was surprised by that. So it's interesting that out of our thousands of customers, he was the only one that openly expressed any type of opposition to it. You know, it's kind of cool. So from that point, it's really become our banner, I suppose. You know, and so it actually drives a large part of our business now. Everything that we do. As a matter of fact, we just rolled out a new line of bath bombs, and for the first time, it was specifically 7 colors, the 7 colors of the visible light rainbow. That's what dictated the bath bombs. So I mean, I'm just kind of moving it towards inclusivity and diversity as our brand now.
I think that's awesome. The word force is a funny word when it's used in such a way, because I honestly can't imagine your business forcing anything on anyone.
No.
I mean, you're just such wonderful people, and but there is that concept of an agenda, and that, you know, we're forcing people to behave a certain way, and really we're not. We're asking politely for people to treat us with dignity, and that's about it. That is the agenda, if you ask me, is to love and be loved, and to ask for dignity where it's due.
Yeah.
All right. Tamisha, if you would feel free to respond to the question, I'll repeat it though. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are in terms of being an LGBTQ plus entrepreneur?
Well, it's kind of interesting that Brian mentioned having the flag up. I remember when that happened. At the time, I was actually the director for Eclectics Art Gallery, and we had a very diverse group of members. I think at the time I may have been the vice chair, the director, but either way, there was some discussion at one of our meetings because some of our members were concerned about it more from a standpoint of they were worried that if we had that out front, that people from, you know, such a small town like Independence wouldn't come into the store. And, you know, from my point of view, if those are the type of people that are coming to the store, maybe those are the people that need to see that we're here and we're supportive of everybody. And really, it ended up, we had, I don't believe we had any customer complaints like come to anyone who was in the gallery directly. The discussion about it did get a little heated. I do get passionate about things sometimes. I'm sure Lacey would love to confirm that if she was on. But we did get it out there. We did make sure we took it down during, you know, when we were closed, so that we didn't, because we were all worried it was gonna, somebody was gonna take off with it, but nobody did, fortunately. Anyway, I guess my point is we also were kind of surprised because, like I said, we didn't have a lot of negative reaction for that. And then I actually took that as like an opportunity to include some more rainbow pieces in my art and some of the other crafts and things that I made and sold in the gallery. I've been wanting to put a flag here at my home, which is my daycare right now. But our our house is entirely made of brick, so I can put a flagpole up, but it's difficult. I have to get like a special drill bit and stuff. But I'll do that here. But actually, also as far as that goes, and like how that affects my work here and the daycare, when I first started, I will be honest, I want to say it's been 7 years when we started the in-home daycare. I was really cautious about being honest about who I am and my personal beliefs, both politically and really just in general. I did things like covered my tattoos and, was, very cautious about that. And then as I got to know more of the families and realized that they were there because they felt like they had a safe space with me, I was able to kind of let my guard down a little bit and show those families who I really am. And so now I'm pretty open with everything. You'll even see signs in my yard pretty often. The parents all know where I stand on things. I think that's important for them to see. And most of the time, and I've actually never had anyone say anything negative. I had one give me a little bit of a ribbing once because of my one of my political signs in the front yard, but he was very polite and agree to disagree kind of guy. But other than that, it's been really great because I've had parents that, we're really happy to see that we're reflected here and that we're welcome here. And, I include things like books that show families of all types, whether it's two moms, two dads, it's foster parents, it's grandparents, things that will reflect everybody's families. And we try to be as inclusive and diverse as possible. And I'm in the process of working on that with my staff for the center and my current staff. And so I just think it's really important for children to see themselves or maybe people they haven't seen before reflected in their environment and their literature and their lives. So.
Absolutely. I cannot stress enough the need for diverse and inclusive family representation, especially in children's literature. I myself am a children's author. I've written a children's book that includes, people of diverse ethnic background, for example, as well as a non-binary character. And people may respond when they see that. And for me, I feel that it is more important to really give space for people that need to be included, people that need a space at that table. So that is awesome to hear that people feel safe taking their children to your daycare because they feel like their families are welcome. That's phenomenal.
And two, another thing I was going to add is recently, of course, we had the primaries here, vote no. And I was a big part, semi-accidentally, helped lead a, I guess you would call it a protest or a meeting, I guess, I don't know. We ended up having about 200 people show up, and part of me was even still concerned about parents are going to see me because, anything that attracts this many people for something this controversial, there are going to be pictures. And sure enough, there's me on the paper with a bullhorn, which no one, I'm sure, who knows me was surprised to see. But at the same time, I still was worried. And again, I came back with positive responses. I think it's hard, even when you do find those positive responses, to still feel like you can be out and be who you are and in such a rural community. But like Brian said, we're rural by choice. We chose to come back. So I'm hoping that us being here is helping expand some minds and opinions.
Absolutely. I love the phrase rural by choice, and especially for both of you, the concept of a homecoming, of a reunion with the area that you grew up in, for example, because that is a beautiful thing when it's met with positive responses, but also the fact that, it's one of our slogans for Project Q&A actually is LGBTQ plus by birth, rural by choice. We really do, at this point in our stages in lives, we choose to be here. And it's not always easy, but it is definitely a worthwhile experience for a lot of us. Next question, starting with you, Tamisha, what is an entrepreneur to you?
I think to me, someone who's an entrepreneur isn't necessarily somebody who starts a brand new business. It could be someone that has a new idea or even really away, like say, for example, you take over at another business or you take a leadership role, and then in doing that, you'll develop things further and you create your business and your plans and your goals. I think a lot of it is goal setting and meeting these goals for you personally in a, not necessarily financial, but in a career or business type setting. So, for example, I myself, and I think this is the case for a lot of entrepreneurs, have always been interested and been very fulfilled by doing things ourselves, creating something new. And I think a lot of entrepreneurship is about creating something new and then sharing that with the world and doing something new that you're passionate about and can be beneficial both in a business aspect and to your community. I think entrepreneurship is especially really important right now in rural communities because we do, we have to have what we need and want in our communities to help others want to be a part of our communities as well. So I think that's important because we don't necessarily have a lot of large corporations and big companies to bring people to town.
Absolutely. I think the need for innovation is an essential aspect of entrepreneurship. Innovation not simply on a business level, but also like contributing to the community. All right. And Brian, same question to you. What is an entrepreneur to you personally?
Actually, it's very short. An entrepreneur is a problem solver. That's it.
All
Somebody
right.
that's going to stand up and actually figure out a problem for a customer. And a customer being somebody that pays you either financially or in some other way, trade with you, or trade of ideas or something like that. But an entrepreneur is a person that solves a problem for somebody else and gets compensated for that. And it's actually pretty rare. But entrepreneurs can be in all different areas of life, just like what Tamisha said. It's not just necessarily somebody that starts a brand new business. It is an entrepreneur can be in any part of a corporation. Let's say you're part of a team doing some project for Microsoft or Google or whoever you are. You can apply entrepreneurial thinking, that problem-solving mindset, that idea of bringing value and solving somebody else's issues. It's very, very valuable. And if you have that mindset, then you'll do very well on any team, as well as leading a business.
All right. So what I'm hearing from you is it's fulfilling a seen and felt need by being a problem solver.
Yeah.
That's what entrepreneurship is to you. Can you tell us a little about your company or any entrepreneurial goals you have right now? We'll start with you, Brian.
Well, let's see here. Where do I begin?
Doesn't have to be anything too proprietary.
Oh no, it's not that. An overarching goal of ours, in addition to, of course, carrying the rainbow banner everywhere we go, is a smaller carbon footprint with every iteration. Every new product that we come up with, everything that we bring to market, I want it to be as eco-friendly as it can possibly be. I want to achieve the goals that I have set out to achieve, which is make your space smell amazing, help your mood, soothe your skin, those kinds of things. These are things that we all want as humans. And sometimes some products on the market they achieve those goals, but they don't do so in a way that's that's good stewardship for our planet. So a big goal of mine is always, so as I'm coming up with new products, and of course we've got several new product ideas on the burner and coming out soon. That's part of if you don't change, you die. So there's always good ideas coming out. But yeah, I think we're always driven by the eco-friendly side of it, even down to like recycling packing material, stuff like that. We try not to send out any shipment with brand new packaging throughout. and we ship all over the world now. So it's nice to be able to say that we're reusing those packing peanuts or that craft paper that my boxes of jars came in, things like that. Yeah.
So sustainability is important because we've got to leave
Absolutely.
as little of a footprint in terms of not only carbon emissions but also pollution,
Right.
waste in general. Yeah,
Right.
excellent. I like to hear the term stewardship applied in such a manner. I think that's
Mm.
actually very important to sustainability efforts. All right, Tamisha, can you tell us a little bit about your company or entrepreneurial goals you have right now? And I am excited to hear about what you're about to talk about because I have a pretty good idea of what you're about to say.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, right now my daycare is in home. I have purchased a building, which is actually just over on Main Street, which is really nice because it'll be a daycare center, which is actually here in town. You won't have to drive quite as far if you get a spot with us. So that'll be convenient for parents. So where we are right now, I literally just, so a while back, we found out we would have to have an additional $150,000 on top of what we had originally planned because we ended up needing a new, well, one of the reasons anyway, we ended up needing a brand new heating and air system. The one that was in the building when we purchased it does or did work, but it was so old because our plan was like, yeah, we'll have to replace it, but we can wait a little. But it was so old that it won't actually work with the fire alarm system that we're required to have in the building. So because of that, we're going to have to get a whole new system, which not alone is, if I remember right, around $80,000 for a building that size. It's a very long building. It's so big, in fact, we'll be able to have 52 children. So we'll have classrooms from all the way from infancy up to some school age. We'll have before and after school care too, depending on numbers and when kids come and go. So we're working on that, but I got a $65,000 grant from the state for that. And then of course, this particular grant has to be matched by another 65,000. It can be in kind, which means it can be stuff we've already done to the building at least since July 1st of 2021 and up until now. So some of that match came from the money I have already spent on this. And of course, COVID has slowed all of this down. It actually put a pause on our funding. You're in the middle of getting dispersed. And now I get to do all that paperwork all over again. So my goal is to hurry and get that paperwork done so we can move forward. But anyway, I did finally end up getting all of the match set up, figure out where things are coming from, got another grant to cover part of it, and turned that in today. It is actually due September 30th, so I'm a little bit ahead of that, but I am the last one who got that grant to get that turned in. But we will be having somebody back in the building by, we're expecting by the end of this week to get some work started. We're a little over halfway done with all of the construction aspect of the project. So once we can get rolling, get really get some steam going on it, we're hoping to be a few months to get that completed, and then a little bit longer to get everything moved in and get the classroom set up, get everyone hired, and have licensing come in and do that. So we can be licensed and ready to go. I won't put a date on it because I learned not to do that after 2 or 3 years of working on it until we get a little bit closer, but we are much closer than we've been for a while, and we're getting started. So my goal is to get that done and get it open and hire a kind and diverse staff to help me with the kiddos and get them trained and ready to go so we can help provide more childcare in a more inclusive environment here in Independence. So, and hopefully we should have 7 or 8-ish full-time employees as well. So we'll be able to provide a few jobs for the area. So that's kind of my big goal right now is to get that done.
All right, that is so exciting. I'm glad to hear that because we are rapidly becoming what I would consider a childcare desert in the area, with so many of the more established daycare centers, for example, retiring over years. It's definitely good to hear that you've got that going forward. I wish you the best with that, of course, because it's definitely a need in the community right now. Okay, so our next question. What challenges have you faced as an LGBTQ plus entrepreneur? Tamisha, can we start with you?
Sure, yeah. Well, so I've had a little bit of an interesting time because as a bi person, I'm currently, I actually am married and for all intents and purposes seem to be in a straight relationship as my husband, as is cishet male. And I'm, well, apparently, from what other people have said, they assumed I am not actually straight, as they put it, entirely straight, which cracks me up every time I hear it. But so it's been a little, I guess, interesting for me. I never officially came out to people. It's just kind of a thing that people who know me knew. And, you know, over the years, and really even it was kind of a hard journey for myself to admit who I was until I was an adult, because growing up, I hadn't even heard of being bisexual. I didn't know what that meant. I thought you were gay or straight. That was as much as I heard. Yay, rural America. Thanks for that. So, you know, and I think bi erasure comes up in a lot. And I've realized I even do that to myself. I ask myself, you know, well, should I even be considered part of this community? And I realized that yes, I should. I still like people that I like, and that's just the case regardless of who I am in a relationship with or what type of relationship that is. That being said, anyone who comes into my home, which is, like I said, currently my daycare, can definitely see we have quite a bit of pride rainbows and things around the house. And actually, some of my previous daycare kids, their siblings have gone to pride things, and I've been there. So really, again, it comes back to a lot of the people who have taken the time to know me, particularly in my business, which you get to know families really quite well. They were actually thankful to know that there was somebody, you know, who was like some of their older children, or like them even in their own personal relationships, excuse me, and lives. But at the same time, like I mentioned before, I've always been a little bit of cautious, I guess, about mentioning it much to anyone until more recently. And it's funny because people tend to see me as pretty fearless. I usually tend to say say what's on my mind or what I mean, for better or worse. But I do, I guess, have that little bit of self-preservation left. So it's been interesting balancing, like, you know, where that line is. But I'm sure England's daughter actually comes here to the daycare, so I'm sure she's seen all the things we have around the house and all of our inclusive looks and stuff. So yeah, it's been interesting.
Absolutely. And that point you hit on about bi erasure, and you know, it doesn't matter what sort of relationship you're in, it doesn't change your identity. And I think that people would do well to understand that, and to understand the issues that come up with bi erasure, for example. So yeah, thank you for hitting on those points. Brian, it's your turn to answer this question if you so desire. What challenges have you faced as an LGBTQ plus entrepreneur?
A few challenges throughout the years, but, you know, more recent, I think, because we've become so visible. We attracted the attention of a local television news station. Oh, well, it was during June. And this reporter wanted to do a story about the economic effect of Pride Month. You know, because the assumption going into it was that all of these companies, put out rainbow everything. It's rainbow vomit for the month of June, and some of these companies, are doing it for the right reasons, and some of them are just doing it as profit grab So she wanted to talk to me because there are very few, I guess, highly visible LGBTQ businesses in this region. So I was, targeted, but in a good way. So she did the story. She came in, and it was actually a wonderful opportunity to tell our story and talk about some of the challenges and talk about how wonderful sales have been, especially around Pride merchandise and things like that. So I shared with her, hey, we're real live gay-owned business, and we make these things that celebrate Pride and sell them, and we've been phenomenally well received, and the sales show that. So I had this really positive news story. It went on the evening news, primetime evening news, and that night we were vandalized. We have planters in front of our store. We have since the beginning, and no one has ever messed with our planters in our 14 years. That night they did. They broke one of them. They stole another one, damaged some of the plants. In the grand scheme, the damage was extremely minor. I mean, it wasn't a big deal at all, but it was a principle thing. And it was scary. It kind of hurt, obviously, but it made me angry. Like, really? Are we going to be that childish? Are we still here? And it highlighted the fact that yes, we, in fact, as a society, we are still here. And no, as queer people, we cannot stop talking about it. We cannot stop showing people the right way to behave. We cannot stop leading by example. So it made me mad. So I got on Facebook. I just made, I had some pictures taken of me cleaning up the mess, sweeping up the sidewalk and, redoing the pots and everything, put it on Facebook and said, hey, this unfortunate thing happened. I'm not saying that it happened because of this news story, but it seems like a big coincidence. And we got hundreds and hundreds of positive reactions and comments from that. It was by far the most, viral post that we'd ever made. And it was all natural and it was all positive. There was not one single negative reaction, not one. But even more than that, we actually inspired a friend of mine. She was mad too. So she started a GoFundMe she was basically going to say, I'm going to start a GoFundMe so that we can replace your broken planters. And I told her, no, I don't want that. First of all, the damage isn't that much. It's fine. I can afford the damage. That's not a problem at all. But why don't you donate it to a cause? And so we agreed on the Matthew Shepard Foundation because of its national work in lobbying politicians to pass laws against hate crimes. She raised $1,200 from that GoFundMe in the matter of 48 hours because of that outpouring. And so that showed me that in the face of hate and destruction, we have this massive brightness that is also in our society. So yes, let's be mad and let's keep marching and showing that we're here. But don't forget that people are still, by and large, so many of them are still lovely, amazing humans that really, when put to the test, really do care. So yeah, that's my story on that.
That's a phenomenal story. I love that story so much, not because of the fact that it happened, but the response, the absolute just beauty of the human nature in responding to that, and the fact that it was such an organic display of righteous fury coming together to
Yes.
to bring about change in a positive way. I love that so much. And You know, I think it was Congressman Lewis who actually John Lewis who said the phrase "good trouble." You know, never stop getting into good trouble, and
Yeah.
that's a great display of good trouble, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so Brian, first the question: what accomplishments has your business had in the last year?
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so when you're talking to an entrepreneur that's a business owner, the first thing that they're always going to say is, "Our sales have been great," but that's not the accomplishment. Um, my accomplishment is my team. I employ 4 full-time people. And I am proud because I have given them all a space to be 100% themselves. And I have watched a couple of them really blossom because they'd never been given the room to do that before in a work environment. There's one person that's transitioning and one person that's coming out. That's, well, I won't be specific, but I'm proud of the fact that I was relentless in the support of all of these people to be themselves shamelessly. Yes, I lost some sales. I know I lost some sales to bigoted people that didn't want to be served by some of my staff. And I don't care. I don't care. Because in the end, I think I've gained so much more from a human perspective, and really so much more financially. Because for all of those people that we lost sales from, I can probably show 10 more that we gained sales from. So it's one of those things that you give back and it returns to you multiple fold.
That is so richly rewarding to be able to watch the people that you employ and give that space for to open up and come into their own, to be living authentically. I love that so much. All right, Tamisha, what accomplishments has your business had in the last year?
I really think personally, one of my bigger accomplishments with the daycare is just the fact that we made it through COVID. I mean, obviously, COVID is still a thing. We're still taking precautions, but a lot of the brunt of it for us here in the daycare, has passed. We occasionally still have a case here and there, but we have been able to do that. We've utilized grant funds to be able to, pay staff for. I have one staff member been able to pay staff for when we're closed due to COVID, as well as paid holidays. I actually, like I mentioned, I work for Thrive Mountain County, so as a grant writer, so I had to hire another staff member who works full time. It's kind of funny. Her name is Tamisha, so it was interesting to the kids get used to Tanisha and Tamisha. And I actually, every now and then, I'll still hear one of them say Tanisha, and I go, what? Because I still work from home most of the time. Normally, I go to Iola twice a week for my other job for grant writing. But I think it's just been having, doing both of those jobs and still staying active in the community and being able to do things like this and to give back and to, be able to hire a staff member for the job that she really likes and really enjoys, but also can make enough that she can continue to work here and make enough of a living to do that. So I think it's just been a matter of getting great staff. We had some issues finding that in the past, especially in 2020 and 21. People come and go, but I finally did find great staff. So I think that's been a great accomplishment. We recently had a bunch of our kiddos go on to kindergarten, so we welcomed a bunch of new kids in the school year. So that is always interesting, and everyone starts at the same time. So I don't know. I guess right now I just would say as far as accomplishments, we're still here, we're still going, we're still full. We have a waiting list, and we are finally moving forward. I've got those grants, and we're able to move forward, and hopefully we'll be up and running soon at the center. So
Wonderful.
I've
That's
been able to share, like I said, one of my biggest things is some of the great literature, children's literature that I've shared with the families and with the children. We send them home occasionally. I need to start doing it again. We have a library where kids can take home a book each week. We just kind of quit for a little bit during COVID. I need to get it started back up again.
all right. Thank you so much for sharing about that. That it's a unique challenge that's come up within the last few years of, a global pandemic that has caused so much loss. So still standing, and to be able to even grow under this immense pressure is really quite a unique experience to be able to share that. So thank you. What advice would you, Tamisha, what advice would you give any other LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs?
Don't take a bite before you're about to speak. I totally thought it was Brian's turn.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I was doing work right up until
Oh,
we started, so I've kind of been sneaking snacks
okay, all right.
or something.
Okay, sorry. I'll make sure
Okay, I'm
in
good
the
now.
future
Good.
I will say the name before the question, so you have a little bit of chance to chew.
You're good. It was my fault. I should have remembered eating earlier. But no, I thought about this earlier actually, and I think my biggest piece of advice, most important, I think, would be to be who you are, and don't try and hide that for out of fear, which, like I said, I'm still working on that myself, because you'll feel a lot better when you are who you really are, and the people around you will notice, and you'll be able to give back to the community and be more authentic, and the people who matter will be there, and the people who don't won't. So, and it's like Brian said, if I lost business because of who I am or any of my beliefs at all, whatever they may have an issue with, those aren't people that I necessarily want to do business with. And I know that there are lots of families out there who need our support, who will, seek us out, and who will find us, and we'll work with them. I do hope that people of other beliefs will be open to our daycare so that we can help expand their minds and opinions. But at the same time, there's only so much a person can do. So I think just being who you are and being honest with everything, I think really that's the big one, and it'll help you be able to feel like you can keep going when you're going through hard times. It's part of entrepreneurship. Sometimes it can be pretty rocky, but you do it because you care about it. So,
All
and
right.
sleep and water.
Yes.
I am terrible at both, but sleep and water.
Don't forget to eat.
Yes.
All right, Brian. What advice would you share for fellow LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs?
I really cannot say it any better than Tamisha just did. Be authentic. I do think that your whoever you're doing business with, your customers, business partners, will respect you for that. And if they don't, then do you really want to do business with them anyway? Because I guarantee you there's lots of business out there, So find your cool kids, be yourself. I will add, just as a side thought, if you've got it in you, don't be afraid to show the naysayers how to behave. Don't be afraid to show them the right way. Don't be afraid to have a conversation with somebody, even if they become somewhat aggressive. Maintain composure yourself and calmly show them that we're human too. that actually goes a long way. And I've had several opportunities to do that, and I'm very, very happy that I have, because it ends up usually being kind of an interesting conversation. And I think that those people, in a lot of cases, if they're open to it, will actually grow from it. So, but that's up to the person. Not in every single person's going to be able to do that. And I understand that, but it seems to be that's been one of my gifts. So I use that. So if you've got it, flaunt it.
All right, great advice. I was going to say something along the lines of in regard to being authentic, and if people don't like it, it's somewhat about that aphorism, age is as a matter of mind over matter. If someone doesn't mind, they don't matter. A bit more applied to this, though, that being us, if people mind, do they matter to us? And it's it's a somewhat ill-developed thought, but I'll work on it before I put it down on ink.
Next year,
yeah.
You got it.
It reminds me of that Dr. Seuss quote. What is it? Be yourself, because those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter.
There we go. That's an even better way of phrasing it. Thank you so
beautiful.
much for that quote.
I knew a
Yes.
Dr. Seuss quote.
Yes, absolutely.
I do want to, I know I'm just jumping in here, but I do want to say the moment you referenced at the beginning of this talk, when the gentleman came in and was very, very angry and upset, the way that you addressed him and just were very patient and kind and spoke to him, appreciating and understanding his humanity and understanding where he was coming from. You handled that with an amount of compassion for him and his understanding that I would not have been able to do. And you could see the transformation in that individual in that one conversation. Someone coming in with an incredibly bigoted mindset towards the LGBTQ community and a variety of preconceived notions. Like, you could literally see it melt away on him. And you were saying that's a particular gift of yours. And I know that it's not everyone's responsibility to take that on, but I appreciated when you did that.
Well, thank you.
All right, we have just one question left as far as questions on our script, but let's actually, whose turn is it? It's your turn to start again, Brian, I think. Okay, so
I did not eat anything.
Yes, I was going to say, Tamisha, feel free to munch away, but Brian, you're on the front burner at the moment.
Oh boy.
What is one piece of advice you would give our younger LGBTQ plus audience watching? One piece of advice for them.
That's hard. That's hard because everybody's different, but I guess the only way I could really frame it is from my own personal perspective, and temperance goes a long way. When you're young, you're usually quite idealistic, and it's very difficult when you're in that idealistic mindset to see the humanity in those that may disagree with you. And it's very easy to steamroll them. And so I would say that if you are young and you do know who you are and you are out, which I'm finding that a lot of young people really do, in this day and age, they know who they are, or at least they're being given the space to figure out who they are. So assuming that person, this young person knows who they are, don't forget to be kind, because you're going to catch more flies with honey.
All right, I like that. Tamisha, what is one piece of advice you would give to our younger LGBTQ plus audience watching?
Oh, just general advice?
Yep, general advice, but
Sorry, I was like, can we just do that? But that was entrepreneurial, wasn't it?
Yep.
Sorry, it's been a
No
long day.
worries. No worries.
I really think, though, honestly, it comes back to figure out who you are first. Take the time to do that, and spend time with yourself, thinking about who you are, what your likes, dislikes are, what you're passionate about before you decide to start an entrepreneurial or journey or any other journey in life, school, whatever the case may be, whatever your journey is, so that you know what it is you really want, but also stay flexible. And like I said, no matter what the situation, be true to yourself and honest about who you are with the world around you as much as you can. I understand there are circumstances where it can be hard to do that, but it's good to push yourself out of your comfort zone sometimes and to be authentic and to be more yourself. And I think it pays off in the long run.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, so we've reached all of the questions we have here. Englund, do we have any questions from the Facebook live stream though?
There are no questions on Facebook Live, but I just wanted to say that we just really appreciate both of you guys so much and what you do in the community, and especially in divisive times, the work and activism that you guys have done, both overt activism with some of the organizing that Tamisha has done, and also the more covert relationship-based activism that Brian's done, have been a testament to you as individuals, but also just to what's possible if people are willing to be authentic to themselves, despite whatever consequences might happen in that, being willing to embrace that. So thank you guys so much.
Yes, absolutely. In your own ways, you're very much pillars in our community that we treasure, and I can't also express enough how much it means to us in our community, Independence, for example, but also in the queer community here. Brian knows me very well from stopping in. I'm one of the artisans, but also I just love being in that store because it's such an affirming and just positive environment. I love being in there, talking with my friends who are on your staff, as well as just being in Magnolia is an experience unlike any other, really. And Tamisha, also, many of our mutual friends, for example, from Project Q&A, have talked about sending their kids to you, and how much of an amazing experience it is for the children that you provide care for. That is such a need in our community for not only care, but compassionate care that is inclusive. And I just cannot express to both of you enough how important you are in our communities.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I could, I can't hear Cody.
Okay, yeah, if you had something to say, go right ahead. I was just going to say we are nearing the end of the live stream, but we have no other questions. So if you have any closing remarks or anything you wish to include, floor is yours.
Thank you.
Just gonna, oh.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to tell you thank you, and I could use a little bit of a practice in the subtlety and patience myself. I think I use a lot of it from 7:30 to 5:30 as far as patience goes. So, I just, I appreciate that you're able to do that, and that you have that kind of patience and a willingness to take that time with people. It's something I think we could all work on a lot. And I think it could go a long way. And thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, yes, thank you again. Thank you for having me as well. This is an wonderful opportunity to spread some thoughts that I don't usually get a chance to spread, really. You know what I mean? So it's kind of nice to be able to do that. And Tamisha, I wish I were braver, and I wish I could stand up with a bullhorn. Oh, that's terrifying. So I think I could learn something from you too.
Well, there was something that was said at one of the meetings of a neighborhood-wide kind of approach to Gay Straight Alliance in my college town of Lincoln, Nebraska. Someone said, in our movement, we do have our Dr. Kings, but we also have our Malcolm X's. We've got those that are willing to stand up and those that are willing to just kind of be the peacemakers and show others grace when that's all we really need as humans. Sometimes is to be shown grace, and other times we need to be kind of told how it is. Yeah. With the bullhorn. All right. Thank you all so much for being here, for being part of this. And thank you to all of our audience members who tuned in. Thank you to our panel for a beautiful discussion. This was such a wonderful experience to be part of this. If you would like to find out more about Project Q&A, our work, or Southeast Kansas Pride, visit our website and follow us on social media. To support our work in rural communities, please consider making a tax-deductible donation today. Thank you for watching our evening panelist discussion, LGBTQ+ Entrepreneurs.